Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Today we have Jeff Stone, Nevada State Senator representing District 20 in the great state of Nevada. Jim, you have any rants?
No, I don't want to do any rants today. Like I said, everything's going to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Second show
for the day.
Second show for
The second show for the year.
So second show for the year.
But the first politician
for
the year.
Politician. Yeah, we'll. I got a funny question to ask him once we get going.
All right.
And so, no, I just like I said last show, I want to thank our 15,000 YouTube subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Then I know you were going to say it, but I'll say it. I also want to thank our key sponsor, which is Ron Quince. We want to thank Ron very much for sponsoring the show.
Yes.
Appreciate him greatly.
Yes.
Good guy.
Good guy. Running for Congress. Did I say that? I did. So, Mr. Stone, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, your name sounds like, a name you'll see on a movie screen. Jeff Stone.
Well, it actually was.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if you're probably too young to remember it, but there was a
Thank God.
There was a television show many years ago called The Donna Reed Show,
Uh-huh.
and her son, the character, was Jeff Stone.
That's why that name sounds
Yeah.
so familiar.
Is that where you got the name from?
No, but what's interesting is that you remember the Nancy Kerrigan issue, right, with Jeff Gillooly.
I think so.
And so when he assaulted Nancy Kerrigan with Tanya Harding.
You're talking about the ice skater, the
ice
Olympic
skater,
ice skater.
right?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
he got prosecuted, and then he wanted to change his name from Jeff Gillooly to Jeff Stone.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the mayor of the city of Temecula at that time. It was 1995, and I said, I don't want this guy to tarnish my good name, and so I filed a lawsuit against him.
Uh-huh.
And I actually went to Portland, Oregon, went to court. I knew I was going to lose the lawsuit, but I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of defend my name.
All right.
And they let him have it. So he's one of probably 1,000 or 1,200 Jeff Stones that are in the country. Because when I did that, I heard from every Jeff Stone in the country saying, "Good, make sure he doesn't get tarnish our good name." So
Nice.
just one of my fun little publicity stunts that I did while I was in office.
Mr. Stone.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
So I am a native Californian, born in Los Angeles, raised in Anaheim, California.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Magnolia High School in Anaheim. I was my senior class president, and then I went to UCI and UCLA as a pre-med, pre-pharmacy school student, and went to the USC School of Pharmacy. And my goal was to open a chain of pharmacies in California, in Riverside County, where my parents lived. And I was driving to one of my pharmacies one day, and I saw some graffiti going up on the front of a business facade for Bianchi Leather. Bianchi makes all the holsters for all public safety agencies for pistols really in the world. And I said to my wife, I said, darn, we just became a city. We just incorporated. I don't want to see, gangs and graffiti and drugs coming into this community. And she goes, well, you need to do something about it. I said, well, what can I do about it? She goes, well, you need to go to one of our new city council meetings and tell the city council they need to get it down, the graffiti, as quickly as it goes up. And so I'd never been to a public meeting like that before. I never appeared before a judge or a council member or a mayor, for that matter, because I'd never been in trouble.
How old were you then?
I was 35. Okay. And so I went to the first city council meeting, and I'm not used to speaking in public, so I was standing in line, ready to speak, and I was shaking. I couldn't even talk. I was so nervous. And finally, my turn came up, and I had 3 minutes. I said, Mr. Mayor, I said, my name is Jeff Stone. I own a home. I have an 8-year-old boy, a 4-year-old girl in public schools. I'm concerned about the graffiti problem. If you don't nip it in the bud early, it's going to get out of control. You never have the budget to get it clean, and we're going to be the nidus of gangs and graffiti and drugs and violence in our schools. And he said, Mr. Stone, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it. Next in line. Kind of just blew me off. And so
sounds like government at
yeah.
work.
So time went on, and the graffiti problem got worse. And finally, one day, my wife called me at the pharmacy. She said, on your way home, you're stopping by City Hall. I said, what am I doing? She goes, I want you to pick up an application. You're running for city council. And then I said, why should I run for city council? I said, you're the one that's got the bigger mouth.
Oh!
That didn't go very well.
You were sleeping
So,
in the
yeah,
other room.
I was in trouble. I quickly filled out that application. And anyway, I was a single subject candidate for city council in 1992 in our first city council election after incorporation. And I ended up defeating the mayor pro tem of the city, Carl Lindemans, that addressed me in that meeting and said he was going to fix the graffiti and didn't take me seriously. And
Good for you.
that opened a whole new
Can of whip ass.
It did.
Yes.
It did. A can of whip ass is a good way to put it. The first thing I did is I worked with the city attorney and we wrote the toughest graffiti ordinance in the state of California still today. And the reason why it was the strictest is because we gave very lucrative rewards for people that turned in people that were putting up graffiti, and it required.
So you created a bunch of rats.
But listen to this. Not only did I create a bunch of rats,
they wouldn't do good in prison.
But here's how it was successful. We worked with the district attorney to write it into the law that if you got caught as a juvenile tagging, that you had to do 60 hours of community service, not by yourself, but with both your parents. So both your parents had to take time off, go clean graffiti, and pay for the damages.
Is that constitutional, though?
It was constitutional. And guess what? We had no more graffiti problems in the city. Even today, we incorporated in 1989. Anybody that goes through Temecula will see there's no graffiti anywhere or gang activity. Of course, we have some drug problems. It's endemic, unfortunately, across the country. We'll get into, I'm sure, some of the reasons why that is happening. But, it was so refreshing to do something different than medicine. At that time, I'd opened the second of my 6 pharmacies that I would ultimately own. And I loved the politics. I loved helping people. And that's the common denominator, being a pharmacist and an elected official. I like to call us public servants. Politician has a lot of connotations to it. But helping people was really the key. And then after serving 3 terms on the city council, I was encouraged to run for county supervisor in Riverside County, a county that has 2.5 million people, even bigger than Clark County. Only 5 supervisors versus 7 supervisors here in Clark. And I was encouraged, but I found the fundraising to be a little bit tough because an incumbent supervisor in the county hadn't been beaten 37 years. Wow. So nobody gave me much of a prayer of winning. But I was determined because the county supervisor that was in office was rubber stamping any development as long as you gave him campaign funds. He would do anything you wanted him to do, and it was ruining our city on the periphery. So I ran, and I took 6 months off my pharmacy and walked and hit 20,000 homes. And lo and behold, I slaughtered him 40%. He even lost his own home city of Hemet, and that began my term on the County Board of Supervisors, which really widens your responsibilities, including having our own veterans department, which we had. And I've always been very respectful and thankful for veterans throughout my life. And when I learned that we had over 3,000 homeless veterans in Riverside County, I said, to me, that is unacceptable. First of all, I think it's shameful that the federal government would allow even one homeless veteran in this country. After them putting themselves on the line for this country, the least we can do is make sure that they have the health care benefits, the behavioral health benefits, and job training that they should have. And so I put an agenda item on the Board of Supervisors, and my goal was to get every veteran off the streets within 6 months. And I'm very proud to tell you that we did it in 3. Wow. And we put them at the March Air Force Base. U.S. vets had the rooms. So you cleaned up
the homeless issue.
We cleaned up the veterans' homeless issue. And then I wanted to further get the rest of the homeless people taken care of. And that was a whole different program. But the veterans were the first to get off the street. And I'm very proud of that program.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Please continue.
So I served 3 terms on the Board of Supervisors. I was the chairman of the board when we had our horrific recession in 2007 to 10. We saw our county revenues evaporate by 25% overnight, and our CEO said, well, we got to start laying off, policemen and fire personnel and staff. I said, we're not firing anybody. He said, what do you mean? I said, we are going to find efficiencies within our budget. I brought in all 57 department heads. I said, listen, don't tell me you don't have any waste in your department, because in any government, you're going to find waste. And what we did is we turned in all the cell phones. I said, why don't we allow our 20,000 employees to use their cell phone and give them a $10 stipend a month and take calls during the day when they're supposed to be working, not from their families, unless it's an emergency, but to use it for their business phone. And of course, it's something we had to negotiate with the union. The union were saying, yes, absolutely. Well, they'll take the extra $10 and use their phones. And we went paperless. We did some pension reforms. We turned in all the county cars. We had people that were getting gas at county expense, getting a car at county expense, that were living in Los Angeles, driving into Riverside. And so the bottom line is that I called the program
How long
Scrape.
you been in Nevada?
I've been living here full-time 3 years, my wife 5. The bottom line is that I did a program called Scrape, Save County Against Preventable Expenditures, and we've saved every year more than the 25% that we lost in perpetuity. So every year, even when I'm out there, the supervisors say, what can we scrape out of this budget to make it more efficient? So, I kind of treated the government resources as though it was my resources, because it's taxpayer money. And why should we spend our taxpayer money differently than we spend our own money in our own personal lives? We have budgets. We got to live by them if we want to be successful. And so I've kind of taken an entrepreneurial approach to running government. And then in 2014, as a result of the 2010 census, we had this new state Senate seat open, the 28th district. Now, the difference between California and Nevada is the legislature there is full-time. Instead of 40 senators in Nevada, we have 40 in California, there's 21 in Nevada. 42 assembly people in Nevada, 80 in California. So
You guys are so big.
and each senator in California represents, are you ready for this? 1 million people. More than a congressman, which represents 700,000. So I had a very strong challenger. Her name was Bonnie Garcia. You won't remember her by name, but you'll remember an instance. She was in the assembly when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was having some problems with her and referred to her as the hot Latina, and he got in trouble for it. It was like a Me Too moment, right? Misinterpreted by the media, but it was a Me Too moment. So she was
He had a kid with a hot Latina.
she was
She called his housewife.
yeah. So she was really formidable, but I ended up beating her by 10,000 votes. And then I got reelected in 2018. And then I was approached by the Trump administration to take a presidential appointment to run the United States Department of Labor for Donald Trump, representing 10 Western states, including Nevada. I took that position, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I worked with Eugene Scalia.
Donald Trump appointed you?
He did. I was president. I have a
Really?
presidential appointment to work in the United States Department of Labor, and I worked for Eugene Scalia, the son of Anton Scalia.
And sorry, Jeff,
Yes.
Mr. Stonehead is a Democrat.
I don't think so.
You're not a Democrat?
I don't think so.
You're Republican?
Of course,
Ah,
of course.
oh, I
And-
thought you was a Democrat for some reason.
No, I've been a lifelong Republican. So,
But hold on a second,
yeah.
Mr. Stone.
Yeah.
How come we haven't? Have we seen you in any of the Central Committee?
yes, I've been there,
State.
but for some reason our paths haven't crossed. But
Have you seen Mr. Stone?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Oh, gee.
yeah, so
That's why we confused you.
listen.
Or at least I did.
I'm a newbie in Nevada, but I've been investing here for 15 years, and I've been coming here since I was 16 years old. I've always been infatuated with Nevada, and especially Las Vegas, because it was only a 4-hour drive from either Riverside or Orange County, where I'm from.
Okay.
And so I've always been enticed by the electricity here in the city and the sports. I'm not a gambler. I love the food. I'm a foodie. I love the food. And so I kind of knew one day that I might end up here. And I went to the California legislature trying to straighten the state out, try to get the taxes under control, get the regulations under control. And then when President Trump called me, I said, this is my ticket out of California. I tried my best to make it better. And being in a super minority all the time with a Democrat governor, there wasn't a whole lot we really could do, even though I have 500 bills with my name on it. And I'm not just talking about proclamations or resolutions. I'm talking about substantial legislation. And that was through reaching over the aisle and I was a healthcare professional. I was one of 3 in the legislature. So they came to me. Democrats and said, hey, how can we work together? And we need your knowledge to help make this legislation become law. So I'm very proud of some of the stuff that we did in California. But, now I'm a battle-born Republican here in Nevada. I love Nevada. It's really interesting because Nevada's population is about 3.2 million versus California's 40 million people. So I kind of see Nevada kind of at its infancy. And so I'm trying to help through my experience at the city level, the county level, the state level, and the federal level. I think I bring a lot of knowledge and experience to the legislature to build a strong foundation for Nevada, to do a lot of economic development, diversify the economic base so we're not solely dependent on hospitality and mining, that we get other industries here like tech and manufacturing, so that we're not so susceptible to downturns in the economy. I'm a little nervous that in 2023 they're predicting, because of the incessant federal spending, that we're going to have a recession. And recessions are felt first by places like Las Vegas, where people use their discretionary income to go and travel and have a good time here. And of course, the state depends a lot on the casinos, because we don't have a state income tax here, nor do I want one. But the states kind of supplant what otherwise a state income tax would provide. So if the casinos don't do well, the state doesn't do well. And so that creates problems for the legislature, and we got to figure out how we're going to deliver services to the wonderful citizens of the Silver State.
So, Senator, this is your first run in politics in Nevada, correct?
That's correct.
And who was your opponent?
So my main opponent was a gentleman who was in the assembly. His name was Mr. Glenn Levitt, assemblyman.
Levitt.
And as you...
So you're up in Boulder area there.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So Glenn comes from a family. The Levitt family's been around here for multi-generations.
We're familiar.
Yeah. I mean, they've been around a long time.
Peggy Levitt was her boo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the city councilwoman, the former city councilwoman.
Okay, and there's judges and
Michelle Levitt.
But he's
another
got
one.
But he's got the name.
Good person.
And so I talked with my consultant, who was also Governor Lombardo's consultant, who was a friend of my chief of staff in California,
Matt?
Ryan Irwin.
Oh, Ryan.
Ryan. So Ryan told me, because when I first moved here, I moved to Summerlin, and then we were living in the Queensbridge Towers, and we didn't enjoy the communal living, having dogs, going up and down the elevators, and we bought a home.
The one right
in
across from Boca.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we ended up buying a home in Henderson. And then it was just fortuitous that Dr. Hardy was termed out, and my consultant said, I think you ought to run. You're going to run against an assemblyman, but I think you're more conservative. I think you're going to be able to beat him.
So let me go right to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to see if you're on board with this bill, because are you familiar with the Dr. Robin Titus?
Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Robin Titus, when she was assembly, she's Senate now. She just got elected. Right. Okay. When she was a minority whip in the assembly, she helped sponsor a bill for us that says remove or retain. And what this bill does, if a judge runs unopposed, and he's the incumbent, runs unopposed, and in the general election, if remove has more votes than retain, the seat's vacated, and Judicial Selection Committee or City of Las Vegas or the County Commission, depends on what jurisdiction, municipality, justice district. Let's say it was a district court judge seat. 3 names are applicants are taken. Judicial Selection Committee take applications. 3 names are selected. Governor picks one of the 3 names. The reason for this bill is because bad judges were constantly running unopposed, and constantly getting reelected again and again. Again, 1 vote does it all, right?
Yeah.
And the purpose of this is because attorneys are intimidated by judges. Attorneys have their caseload in front of different judges and don't want to upset the apple cart.
Right.
So they don't want to run against a judge, although they know that judge may or may not be not suited for the bench anymore.
Right.
There is no, judges have immunity. Okay. Supreme Court passed a ruling down. I don't even know why the Supreme Court got involved in this, but Supreme Court passed the ruling down, says that judges can't be recalled, and they're the only entity that are elected that can't face a recall, which I think is biased. because every other elected official could face a recall except for judges, and judges are also elected.
Is that in the Nevada Constitution?
I don't even know if they changed the
Because
Constitution.
that's not the same thing in California.
Because that's a ruling that came down from the Supreme Court. It was during, I don't know if you're familiar, you've been here 3 years. It was some time ago when they were trying to recall a judge in North Las Vegas. Her name is Ramsey. And Sandra Morgan was a city attorney at the time, which I thought that was a conflict all by itself, was trying to push her out. And Supreme Court came down with a ruling saying that you can't recall judges. So you can't recall judges. Judges have immunity, right? There are no term limits for judges.
So what you're saying is you're going to
Right.
live with a bad judge for a long
Right.
time.
So how are you going to get rid of these bad apples?
Right.
And we
Right.
came up with the remove and retain bill. So I want to know if that was something you contact Dr. Titus and co-sponsor maybe?
Absolutely.
Something you'll do?
So I have some experience in this area. I'll share with you. So my son Jason Stone was a deputy district attorney in Riverside County, where I was from, for 16 years. He did the sex crimes unit and murders.
Okay.
He's a brilliant kid. He put in an application to be appointed to the judgeship when Governor Brown was there, when Governor Newsom was there, but because of me, they passed him up. They said, no, we're not going to pick this guy. This is Senator Stone's a Republican. We're not doing that. They figured that the apple doesn't fall from the tree, right? I'm a strong public safety guy.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I told my son, I said, listen, you're not going to get appointed in California. The only way you're going to win is you're going to have to run. He goes, okay, Dad, but you understand that there is an unwritten rule. You never run against a sitting judge. If you do, you will be blackballed by the whole Judicial Council, and you'll never get an attorney's contribution or anybody's contribution.
Isn't that a shame, though?
It's a shame. It's a shame that we shouldn't be. It should be public service. We shouldn't be
held
creating.
hostage.
We shouldn't be creating occupations for these people. It should be public service. If you do a good job, then you deserve to be elected. If you do a bad job, you should be booted out of office.
Exactly.
So 4 judges were retiring in Riverside County, and my son was one of 4 DAs that ran. And in June, my son won, and he was sworn in on January 3rd. So I'm very proud of Your Honor, my son, Jason Stone.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about a recall, so I just wanted to share something with you that just happened. And I am supporting a recall of a judge in California right now. Why? I'll tell you why. In San Bernardino County, there was a 3-striker that was sitting in jail. And the judges and the defense attorneys were asking for bail. The first mistake that this judge made was she would give bail, and it was like $1 million. And the defense went back and said, "Hey, that's too much money. He can't afford $100,000 to get out of jail. We need it lowered." So she lowered it to $500,000. The guy got out of prison. This is a 3-striker in California. That
I
means
know you guys are tough on those 3-strike laws.
Well, we used to be. We're not as tough as we used to be.
Okay.
But this judge, appointed by Schwarzenegger, let this guy out. And then a Riverside County sheriff, 25, 26 years old, dying to be on, no pun intended, a motorcycle cop. One of his first people he pulls over is this guy. And no sooner than he walked up to the car, he pulled out a gun and he killed him in cold blood. His funeral, I think, was yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So this demon should have never been released from prison at all, even while waiting for trial, because he had a history of not even showing up when he did have bail.
Did they blast that judge for letting him out?
They blasted the judge, and now
So she got blood on her hands?
she's got blood. Exactly. She's been. We have put a coalition together, asking her to just resign. Spare us the effort of recalling her. So far, she's repelled it. But I am actively working with the Riverside Sheriff's Association, Robert Masson, who's the former director. We're putting a coalition of donors together, and we will recall this judge.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. But you're here in Nevada now.
I'm here in
So
Nevada
what are you going
now.
to do for this great
So
state?
the first thing I want to do, because you're bringing up a problem, is that I want to find out where it's written where you cannot recall judges. That's got to be fixed. And if that's a constitutional amendment, then we need to put it on the ballot and pass it by 2/3 majority.
And why is the Supreme Court involved in something that
Because they don't want to be recalled,
exactly
right?
But
So
that's also a conflict, though.
it's a self-serving prophecy.
It's a conflict because where's a separation? Because the legislators are the ones that make the law.
That's right.
The legislators, not the Supreme Court.
Right.
The Supreme Court is supposed to enforce the law,
Right.
not make law. So why are they making law?
Yeah. Well, as we all know, we see this often. We have a lot of judges that are emboldened and legislate from the bench. You know?
And why are they making law that's gonna benefit their peers and them?
Exactly.
You know, they shouldn't be doing that.
It's very self-serving.
It is.
They should be held to the same standard as any elected official. You do a good job, the citizens have a right to vote you back in office. If you do a bad job, the citizens have a right to vote you out.
So I would like for you to look into that, Mr. Stone.
I will.
The second thing I'd like for you to look into is higher education.
Mhm.
Higher education means that if you're a regent, I mean, my perspective, if you're a regent, you're supposed to, lift the hearts and souls and minds of the youngsters up to go through,
Sure.
to get their
Go-
bachelor's, get
right.
their whatever, their
Go to college,
master's, their
universities.
doctorate, whatever. Now, I can't for the life of me figure out why they allow people to run for a university board of regent that just basically
Have
got their high school diploma.
No qualifications.
I think, I don't know if you remember this, but no, you wouldn't remember this, but years ago, there's a judge called Joe Bonaventure. He's from the Bonaventure family, blah, blah, blah. He's a justice of the peace. He had 2 years practicing law in the state of Nevada. He became judge. He became judge because dad has the name. So he got elected from dad's name.
Right.
Once he became judge, the legislation's changed laws saying now you have to have 5 years as a practicing attorney to run for justice of the
In
peace.
California, it's 10.
They call that the Bonaventure law.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm looking at there is a person that's university regent right now, and they just made him president because nobody else wanted to run for it. His name is Byron Brooks. He has no college education, but yet he's not only the president of the higher board of education. We elected him. We the people elected this guy who has no college education.
Amazing.
Beat out a guy named Swadib who had 3 bachelor's, masters. And the reason why Swadib didn't win is because his name, Swadib,
Mhm.
and because he had a little bit of accent. He had an accent
Yeah.
when he spoke.
Yeah.
So people moved away from that.
Right.
Just like Eli Rouhani, great judge,
Yes.
constitutionalist, but beat out by this person that named Annie Alberson. Really, this is how voters vote. They vote stupid. They vote stupid. They put stupid people in office, and that really pisses me off. And that's why I'm so passionate about what we do at Veterans in Politics, to try our best to get the best person elected, because voters don't know. So I would like to see if you would indulge me and put some type of bill together to say that, hey, here's the qualifications to be a university board of regent. You have to have at least a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a student in UNLV, and you're my university regent, I did background on you, and I got my bachelor's degree, and I'm going for my master's degree. I'm like, who the hell are you to tell me
And
anything?
you're appealing to basically a high school educated
Yeah.
representative that's supposed to know what's best for your career destiny.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So I
problematic.
think that we need to fix that, and
Yeah.
we need to fix it fast.
Well, the good news, like I said, is I see Nevada at its infancy with 3.2 million people, and you got to build a foundation. And part of that foundation is memorializing some of the things that you've talked about to make sure you have qualified people that are leaders, because that's, education is so important. I mean, I want to attract businesses here to Nevada, and the first thing they're going to ask is, tell us about your educated workforce.
Right.
And that's a problem for us.
Right.
And that's why the jets are flying over Nevada and going to Texas or going to Tennessee or going to Florida. They're not coming here because we don't have as highly educated of a workforce as we need.
Right.
So we've got to improve that,
Right.
and we need good leadership at the top. And I respect
So you take
your
care of
point
those.
of that.
Help us with
Yeah.
those 2 bills.
Yeah.
Put it, pound it. Help
Yeah.
us with those.
Well,
2
remember,
bills. Really
I got a
appreciate it.
4-year session, so my bill package has kind of already been it had to be submitted by December 1st. So, but you were providing me ideas for our second
Or
session.
you
so,
could
yeah.
I mean, you could always
Yeah.
put it on somebody else
Yeah.
and just squeeze it
Exactly.
in there.
We'll see
I
if
know
we
how
can
they
squeeze
do
it
it.
in. Yeah.
But they call that pork in Congress.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is useful pork.
This is useful
You just
pork.
tag
yeah.
it on as a writer.
Yeah.
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 Jim, you have anything for Mr. Stone?
Yeah, actually, I'm very excited you're on the show.
Or
I-
Senator Stone, I should say.
I know state
Jeff is
senate.
fine.
I know state senate 20 fairly well, just because I've known former state senator Dr. Joe Hardy for
Yes.
so many years. I wanted to ask you, did you reach out to him at all during this campaign, or
did.
yet to kind of
I did.
get a feel for the landscape there in 20? Because
Yeah.
they say that Dr. Hardy delivered every baby in Boulder City,
I
so
know.
he understands the area very well.
20,000 babies.
Well, now he's Mayor Hardy.
Yeah, Mayor
Yeah.
Hardy. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I first decided to get into this race, I put a call into him. And I did it through his former practice because I didn't know how to get a hold of him. And then he called me up. I remember exactly what time. It was 5:25 on an evening. He said, "Is this Jeff Stone?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "This is Senator Dr. Hardy." I said, "Well, sir, it's great to meet you. How are you, sir?" He says, "Listen, I've got to go to dinner in 5 minutes. I just got a few things I want to tell you. One, I think you're a great candidate for the state senate. I think you do a great job. Two, I've already endorsed your opponent, Mr. Levitt, and I am not going to take back my endorsement.
Yeah.
And three, I think you're going to defeat Glenn Levitt, but I'll deny I ever said it." I said, "Well, sir, first of all, I'd disrespect you if you took back an endorsement of somebody that you gave your commitment to." And I said, "I can assure you that I'm going to be a good qualified candidate. I'll run a good campaign. And I have a funny feeling that I'm going to win this race." He says, "Thank you. I got to go to dinner." And that was it. Hung up, right?
Yeah, he's
So-
pretty straightforward like that.
So what's interesting, and we've become very good friends, by the way, since. He supported Mr. Levitt, and you have a very interesting law here in Nevada. So you have to file your candidacy by a certain deadline. And then the county gives you 10 days that if you want to, you can pull your candidacy back. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, you have 10
Right.
days after March 18th to
Right.
opt out.
So I'm in the race. Mr. Levitt's in the race. I got a Libertarian in the race. I've got a declined estate in the race, and a Democrat. So there's 5 of us. So Glenn, I was actually in my dentist appointment, and I'm gearing up in the campaign. In fact, I actually started walking in Boulder City. It was just unbelievable that I walked at a house. I knocked on a door, and a woman answered the door. And I said, "Hi, my name's Jeff Stone. I'm running for the state senate. I got started early." Give her a brochure. She goes, "Oh, thank you. I'll look at it." "Thank you." Slam the door. I walk by. It says the Levitts, established 1995. I already got there. Now, also, Glenn Levitt's former father-in-law, you understand what I mean when I say former in a minute, was Bruce Woodbury. Now, Bruce Woodbury is a legend.
Oh, yeah,
Here.
215 name.
I mean, the guy is, was on the board of supervisors for a year, very
He
respected
was the
attorney
only county commissioner
that wasn't indicted.
in the G Sting operation.
And I believe, I mean, I may be speaking incorrectly here, but I believe he's also the last Republican to be a county commissioner
That's correct.
as well.
That's correct.
That's true.
So I finally realized why I'm really going against a powerful family.
Well,
But
excuse me.
but-
Excuse me. So one second. I think I might make a little correction. I thought it was, what's his name? That was a county commissioner Republican that left because of
think it
Chip
might have been
Maxfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chip
Yeah.
Maxfield.
before my time, all this is before my time. But anyway, to make a
Don't
long
worry, we'll catch you
to
up.
make a long story short,
Yeah.
Mr. Levitt was having some challenges in his personal life, which I prayed that he would overcome and help get his family life back on track. He ended up pulling out 2 days before the deadline. So I became the Republican nominee overnight in a district that it was 16 points Republican. So I knew that I had a very good opportunity to become a senator, not only once in the state of California, but now here, which it was wonderful. I mean, I guess my Heavenly Father was very kind to me in my 12th election to make it a little bit easier than maybe some of my previous 11, because all of them were fights, before.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sure in
yeah.
Republican in California. I'm sure. I'm happy you're still alive, sitting here to talk to us.
I tell
about it.
people I may not be battle born, but I'm battle tested.
Battle tested. Yeah.
Well, Senator, we just wanted to introduce you to our viewers and let them know who you are, and then put a face to the name and go on with that. But I know if I start talking some more, we'll be here a long time.
I'm enjoying this. Go ahead.
Because Veterans in Politics has been sponsoring bills, has been writing bills, and all that for many years. So, and there's a lot more bills I would like to see.
Well, there's one
move
bill I'm
forward.
writing, just real quickly. I hate to interrupt you. Just want to tell you before we end up maybe adjourning, but I have a bill that is going to help veterans, or not veterans, actually those that are enlisted. So we have people that are enlisted that, as you know, you went to Pendleton, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume, and I don't know if you have a wife or a spouse. Let's say
Several wives.
Okay, several wives. Okay,
Yes.
well, let's take one example. Let's say that one of them was a nurse, and let's say you lived in Nevada and she was licensed in Nevada to be a nurse. Now you get stationed in Pendleton. She's a nurse and she can't practice there because they don't recognize the license from Nevada. So I have what's called a occupational licensing recognition bill that, number one, will make sure that if a military person comes to Nellis or some other base here in Nevada with a spouse that is a physician, a teacher, a physical therapist,
You could transfer over.
that they immediately get transferred over so they can work if they want to work. They don't have to work, but there's no impediment to them having a license here in Nevada. I want to do something good for our veterans.
We
So that is one
appreciate
of my
that.
bills.
We appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
Jim, you have anything else for Senator Stone?
No, other than I think it's good to get somebody from California, even though I do have an issue with. I'm always confused at why so many people are flooding California coming into Nevada and voting for the same liberal politicians that
cause them to leave.
cause them to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
But I wish you luck, and here's another thing I just thought of that's kind of interesting. Even though you're not a doctor, you're a healthcare professional, and then Dr. Joe Hardy, he was a healthcare professional. So maybe that's just the perfect fit.
Well, I actually have a
San Antonio.
doctorate in pharmacy. I actually
Nice.
taught at the university
Oh,
level.
okay.
So you can mix a cocktail.
Yeah,
then, huh?
I make, in fact, I have seriously, I have a compounding pharmacy that does make cocktails
Mhm.
for pain docs. For there are some patients that have what's called a Medtronic.
You know
pump.
what? I'm not going to keep an open drink
Yeah.
around you.
I don't use, so that's a good thing. But I'm actually a pain control specialist, and my pharmacy is a pain control pharmacy too. So we try to help people that have intractable pain to get a pump that's implanted in the body. Only a doctor can administer the medicine.
yeah.
It's controlled electronically into the cerebral spinal fluid of the
Wow.
spine. It's amazing. So there's a lot of good treatments for people that have really severe pain, and it's been another passion of mine.
Well, Senator Stone, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure. I hope
you
you'll invite me
are our
back.
first politician
Okay.
and our second guest of the year.
Okay.
Okay. Mark is going to zoom in on you,
Okay.
and whatever you want to say, point of contact, how to get a hold of you, maybe.
Sure.
What are you going to do for the state?
Sure. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be with all 15,000 plus of you veterans. I'm kind of a newbie here in the state of Nevada, but I assure you, you're going to feel my presence in the state legislature, because I was not a quiet person on the Senate floor when I was in the Senate in the state of California. But I represent the wonderful citizens of Nevada, 3.2 million, although I was elected by a district of about 150,000 people. And my goal is to make life better for people in Nevada, including veterans. And so I would love to hear from you. You can reach me through put my cell phone out there. It's 702-903-9550. Text me and let me know that you're calling me. Let me know who you are, and I will accept the phone call. If you have any ideas for legislation, or if you have any ideas for policies or laws that need to be changed for your benefit or your family's benefit, I want to hear about it. I want to keep Nevada a family-friendly place to live, where it doesn't cost you a fortune like it does in California. I want to keep taxes to a minimum. I want to keep government growth to a minimum. And I want to make life easier for people that want to come here, and I want to expand the economic base here in Nevada. And I look forward to representing you, and please contact me if I can be of any service.
Well, thank you so much. Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Jeff Stone, Nevada State Senator, representing District 20 for the great state of Nevada. Let's keep our eyes on him. He's going to be elected for the next 4 years. Let's make sure his voting record is something that we could live with. This is Steve Sanchez, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.